Welcome to this edition of Dwyer Tech and Specs. In the last edition, I covered control valve flow sizing. In this edition, I will expand on control valves, explaining control valve actuator sizing and valve action selection. Dwyer's high flow series control valves have pneumatic actuators that modulate the valve for flow control. The opening, closing, and throttling of the valve plug is accomplished by varying the air pressure to the diaphragm in the actuator. Typically, the control pressure signal is 3 to 15 psig. There are two types of actuators, air to lower and air to raise. In air to lower actuators, as the pressure signal is increased, the diaphragm pushes down, moving the stem and plug down and compressing the range spring. As the pressure signal is decreased, the range spring pushes the diaphragm up, moving the valve stem and plug up. In air-to-raise actuators, as the pressure signal is increased, the diaphragm pushes up, moving the stem and plug up and compressing the range spring. As the pressure signal is decreased, the range spring pushes the diaphragm down, moving the valve stem and plug down. The high flow control valve series offers two types of valve bodies, push to close and push to open. In push to close, the valve stem moves downward, pushing the valve plug closer to the seat in the valve body. This movement decreases the flow through the valve. In push to open, the valve stem moves downward, pushing the valve plug away from the seat in the valve body. This movement increases the flow through the valve. With the choice of actuators, air to raise or air to lower, and valve bodies, push to close or push to open, the proper action of the valve can be selected for the application, direct acting or reverse acting. Consideration should also be taken for the fail position of the valve, which is what the valve will do on loss of the control signal air. A push-to-close valve body with an air-to-raise actuator will have a valve action of air to open and spring closed. This is a normally closed valve and is reverse acting. A push-to-open valve body with an air-to-lower actuator will have a valve action of air to open and spring closed. This is a normally closed valve and is reverse acting. It has the added safety factor that the upstream pressure will close the valve on control signal air loss. A push-to-open valve body with an air-to-raise actuator will have a valve action of air to close, spring open. This is a normally open valve and is direct acting. A push-to-close valve body with an air-to-lower actuator will have a valve action of air to close, spring open. This is a normally open valve and is direct acting. It has the added safety factor that the upstream pressure will open the valve on control signal air loss. The actuator must be sized to be large enough to shut off the valve against the system pressure on the valve plug. The high flow line comes in 3 actuator sizes with a variety of range spring sizes according to the shutoff pressure needed. Valve sizing charts on the Dwyer website and in the Dwyer catalog show the maximum shutoff pressure for each size valve with each size actuator. When ordering a valve, the maximum upstream pressure will need to be specified and the spring size is automatically chosen accordingly. The range spring has an operating range of shutoff pressures that it will operate with, and the actuator has an adjustment for field calibration for shutoff pressure within that spring range. It is best to adjust the valve in the application so that it operates at the particular shutoff pressure in the application line. Don't forget to check back for our next edition of Dwyer Tech and Specs, covering control valve plug styles and flow characteristics. Dwyer Instruments, right choice, right price, right now.